Hey everyone, you're about to watch the Cardboard Herald's review of Tiny Epic Zombies, which I'm announcing because you're probably used to seeing my mug on this channel, but in this video you'll see the mug of Luke Muench, who is a contributing writer to the Cardboard Herald, has given us tons of awesome written reviews, has participated in some audio podcasts, and will occasionally be appearing on the video channel as well. He does a great job, is super creative, and has a lot to say about board games. I'd love to hear what you think. Let us know in the comments below. So with that all said, Luke, take it away with our Tiny Epic Zombies review.
Imagine, if you will, a board game that is both tiny and epic. A game that tries to exemplify all four of the X's in a 4X game in a single, compact $25 box. Now imagine that game featuring zombies, hordes of them that you're trying to escape from through the vast expanse of a mall, all while having to accomplish three rather specific goals. And now imagine that one of your friends is the zombie leader, hunting you down as you desperately try and get done all of the things that you don't have time for. Can you make it? Is there any hope? This is Tiny Epic Zombies. In Tiny Epic Zombies, players are either taking on the roles of some of the survivors of a typical horror movie, the teenager, the mechanic, the athlete, whomever, or they're taking on the role of the zombie player who is controlling the various zombie hordes who are marching through the mall. Your heroes win if they accomplish the three different goals that have been randomly laid out for them at the start of the game. Goals like trying to discover a cure or collecting radio frequencies to contact the CDC. When you complete those three goals, the heroes win. The zombie player is trying to stop that. Is trying to take you down before you have a chance to do that. And they have two different ways of doing this. One is by reducing your collective team's health to 0, removing your lives from the board, or by running out the time, basically. The game runs through a player character, zombie character loop, back and forth. On a player's turn, they get to do three different actions, each of which is a movement, but when you move, you get to do different things within the room you move into. So, on this player's turn, I might move into this room. First, I check and see if there are any zombies that I must or can kill. In this case, there is a zombie in the room with me, which means I must kill it by rolling the melee die. The melee die is basically the after effects of whatever happens in the fight. No matter what, I kill this zombie because I fought it. But whether or not I take damage or get extra buffs or whatever is based on this roll. Alternatively, if I entered this room and there were no zombies here, I could spend a bullet to shoot one of the zombies from a neighboring room, killing it outright. This is dangerous because a character doesn't die if they just take a bunch of damage. It's if their damage token and their bullet token ever meets. After you've done whatever zombie killing you're going to do, you're allowed to interact with any tokens or abilities in your room, assuming that there are no zombies within the building that you're currently residing. You then can pick up any items in that room. Items can be first aid kits or fireworks or something that will allow you to do an instant effect that will help you. Or they could be weapons that you get to attach to your cute little meeple character. Woohoo! And that will allow you to better fight off the zombies in question. After you've taken all three movements, you're going to reveal the card in front of you. Most of the time, they're going to be cards that are useful to you, like shotguns or crowbars or whatever. This is how items get dropped into rooms. Rather than you receiving this item, it gets dropped into the room that you're in to be later picked up. Now, if you'll notice, the symbol on this card happens to match the noise symbol of the room that I ended my turn in. This allows for the zombie player to be able to take additional bad actions that will generally make the hero player's time a lot harder. Once that special action takes place, then a zombie is added to each of the rooms of the matching symbol. Now, if you haven't noticed, the zombie player, other than giving players cards, doesn't really have much control over the game. And honestly, it feels bad to play as the zombie. which is really weird. Like, you want to be the bad guy screwing over your friends. You want to be the person who's like, I'm just going to eat your face, and that's my turn. Like, that's supposed to be the feeling that you want out of this, but the zombie player feels like a DM. It's just, oh, I put the zombie in here for you. Go ahead, take your next turn. Like, it doesn't feel great. And 9 times out of 10, these symbols here, they don't trigger. It almost never happens for the zombie player. And so it just kind of feels like you're sitting there doing nothing, which is unfortunate because the game is marketed to be that asymmetrical style of play. But for what it's worth, I think this game works really well in a pure co-op setting where the zombie is automated and all of the players are working together to try and accomplish the goals. And there's this feeling of camaraderie that really just pervades the game and makes this experience pretty fun. The component quality of this game is really top-notch, with a lot of the different pieces feeling high quality. Obviously, there are the item meeples here, as is a trademark part of any Tiny Epic game moving forward of Gamelyn Games. And they feel kind of silly. There's no mechanical purpose to them, but honestly, it's just really fun to play with them, and you feel like you're a kid again, and you've got this toy box of all these cute little things to mess with. The zombie tokens aren't the best, but they're functional and they look nice enough. Most of the wooden pieces have a very strong aesthetic that goes and matches the rest of the pieces, and the art style of this game is absolutely phenomenal. It takes on this sort of graffiti-esque look to it that works really well with the character designs that they have presented here. And most of the symbols, despite it being a very visually busy board, is pretty easy to sort of read just by looking at it briefly. Now, unfortunately, for all of the positive things that Tiny Epic Zombies brings to the table, there's 3 really big issues that at the end of the day hold it back from being a truly incredible and immersive co-op experience, or even an asymmetrical experience if that's your bag. The first of these are the character cards. Now, depending on which character side you're playing of a specific individual, their abilities are incredibly imbalanced. The hippie player, for instance, is super underpowered, rewarding you for not killing zombies in a game about killing zombies. That's a problem, and it doesn't feel good to play as them, and it doesn't function well. It feels underpowered compared to anyone else at the table. Meanwhile, the zombie version of the hippie is super powerful, adding additional zombies every time players aren't punished successfully. And that results in characters that feel either really weak or much too strong for any given circumstance. The other issue with them is that some of the characters are more or less duplicated with slight variants, meaning that the variety that you thought was there isn't nearly as prevalent because a lot of the cards do similar things. Speaking of cards, the item cards, most of them you're going to see every single game. Some of the items, specifically the weapons, are going to be set aside in a pile of cards that won't be as easily accessible, but most of the time you're going to see everything the game has to offer every game, which leads to very few surprises in future games and very few new things to sort of play with and interact with. You get a feeling for what weapons are best for given situations, and there's this constant feeling of knowing better than the game, knowing how to outdo it. And ultimately, that's the thing, is this game is too easy. Everything about this game is very predictable, very obvious, very quick to pick up on. I've played this game 8 times, and I think I've only lost the first time. Every turn is just, what's the best way to do this thing as quickly and efficiently as possible? The random variables like the die, when you roll it, you always win the fight regardless of what face it's showing. It doesn't matter how the fight necessarily ends for the most part, except for the most pressing of circumstances, which leads you to be able to take bigger risks, per se, because they're not really all that risky. The most difficult part of the game is figuring out how to sort of spread out your different characters to make sure you're policing the 4 corners of the map, but even then, it's a pretty simple and straightforward experience that never feels like it's going to beat you. And a co-op game that is too easy isn't a co-op game that I could ever recommend revisiting. It's fun for the first few plays. The aesthetic is beautiful and the pieces are chunky and fun to play with. It's a little toy box all of your own, but the puzzle underneath it is so simple and so straightforward that you'll get bored of it after 4 or 5 plays. While attempting to provide players with a unique and interesting way of playing asymmetrical games, Tiny Epic Zombies relies too much on its visuals and components rather than providing players with a deep and interesting puzzle to return to. At the end of the day, there are much better and more difficult co-op games for you to spend your money on that will encourage you to return to them time and time again. Games like Pandemic or The Grizzled. You'll get your money's worth and you'll have something that you can really envelop yourself in and feel immersed in that experience. Do you have any rebuttal for me, Tiny Epic Zombies? I didn't think so. Thank you for checking into the Cardboard Herald. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the future with many more reviews to come. Bye-bye. Goodbye, everybody. It's time to take your rest. Boom, 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 lay your sweet head. We're done.
If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcasts, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.